energies, particularly the kinetic energy and the potential energy. The another difference between these force and energy is that one is a scalar quantity and the other one is the vector quantity. The force is defined as the vector quantity because it generally have both magnitude and direction, and the energy is defined as the scalar quantity because it have only magnitude. And its Lagrangian mechanics is built on this idea of using energy other than force. So these are the difference between these two mechanisms. So what is actually Lagrangian? Lagrangian of a system is defined as a function that summarizes the dynamic of a system using energy. whole square